When it comes to ancient history, there are some names that'll never be forgotten, and Alexander the Great is without doubt a perfect example of this timeless phenomenon. But beyond his rather illustrious title, few people could tell you very much more about Alexander, except perhaps that he was rather partial to conquering, had an amazing horse, and died very young. What's more, there's no debate about any of this. Alexander the Great can be traced with relative ease to a time and place where anything was possible for those who dared to try. Following in the footsteps of Alexander the Great doesn't require an encyclopedic knowledge of ancient Greece or a specialized classical education, because he certainly left his mark wherever he travelled, keeping the trail alive to this very day. We're talking about a young man who discovered that he had the world at his feet, and then, tragedy of tragedies, didn't know what to do with it. This truly is a remarkable story from the past that has a real resonance for the present and future, and during this journal you'll hopefully get to know Alexander a great deal better. It took the wit and wisdom of another Alexander many centuries later to remark that "A little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep, or taste not the Pierian spring. Their shallow draughts intoxicate the brain, and drinking largely sobers us again." These words were penned by Alexander Pope, the 18th century poet who shared his great namesake's fascination with Homer's epic poems inspired by the Trojan War, the Iliad and the Odyssey, which Pope spent years translating into English. What he says is relevant to our tale about Alexander the Great, because on the surface the young conqueror was a mighty hero, to be revered and emulated, intoxicating all who encountered him with his not inconsiderable charms. However, when you delve deeper into the truth about Alexander the Great, the darker side of his nature is far from pleasant, and the despotic flip side of his golden boy character is indeed sobering. To know a little of Alexander the Great may well excite feelings of national pride and patriotism, but to know a lot will stand as a warning against the misuse of power by charismatic leaders who rise too high. As the 19th century Cambridge history professor Lord Acton so cleverly put it, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men." In times of trouble, throughout history, it's simply been human nature to look for a leader, a hero if you like, to bravely make the world a better place. But for whom, and at what price? Napoleon, Genghis Khan, Adolf Hitler, Attila the Hun, Rasputin the Mad Monk, and Saddam Hussein. Indeed, the list could go on and on, all exploited popular acclaim in the first instance, whilst their megalomaniac tendencies spiralled out of control. Whether or not Alexander the Great deserves to be put on the same list remains to be seen, and as his story unfolds, you'll be able to decide for yourself what manner of hero Alexander the Great really was. With our philosophical preamble complete, it's time to step back into the past, when ancient Greece was literally the centre of the classical universe. To have a chance of gaining any insight whatsoever into the complex character of Alexander the Great, we do need to undergo a rapid immersion in Greek culture to set the whole story in context. Even armchair historians should be wary of judging events of the past by our modern-day values, because the picture that emerges as a result will inevitably prove to be somewhat distorted. It's hard to believe, looking at tranquil rural Greece today, that it was once such a hotbed of intellectual and political debate, with the likes of Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle leading the way. The first inhabitants of this hot, dry, mountainous country, surrounded by Mediterranean islands, arrived about 40,000 years ago. During the Bronze Age, there were 3 Greek
Sample complete. Ready to continue?